If you've seen the Disney movie Fantasia with Mickey Mouse as the sorcerer's apprentice, you've seen a good representation of America's interventionist foreign policy. Hi, I'm Charles Goyette, and I'm here to ask for your help with an important documentary about America's leading champion of peace and prosperity, Ron Paul. In The Sorcerer's Apprentice, Mickey Mouse unleashes a flood of powerful forces that he does not understand, dangerous forces that he cannot begin to control. Of course, catastrophe follows, just as it has with the global meddling of the interventionists in Washington. In the same way, Bush's invasion of Iraq on false pretenses radicalized the entire region, the way that these global meddlers could not begin to comprehend. Al-Qaeda had no presence in Iraq before we went in. There was no ISIS. Today, it's a different story, with the black banner of ISIS drawing jihadists to the region from far and wide. But we're talking about the consensus foreign policy of the governing classes, the Republicans and the Democrats alike. Obama's illegal bombing of Libya has borne bitter fruit as well. Tribal warlords, economic chaos, human smuggling, and ISIS beheadings. In short, Libya is another showcase of interventionist failure. But it's worth remembering that as it took place, the New York Times called it a key Middle East victory for the Obama doctrine. Again and again, the foreign policy establishment, full of itself and its death-dealing might, unleashes forces that it doesn't understand and it cannot control. Now, if you don't recall the rip-roaring national debate about the pressing need for the United States to topple Bashar Assad in Syria, if you don't remember the congressional declaration of war before the clandestine shipment of arms to Syria's rebels began, some of which, by the way, came from Libya in the aftermath of the U.S. debacle there, if you don't remember any of that, there's nothing wrong with your memory. There was no national debate. There was no declaration of war. Instead, it was all the doing of the global interventionists of the Washington foreign policy establishment. It is their policies that have Americans fighting against their own weapons. And it was from their policy that ISIS was born. Just recently, former Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark admitted on CNN that, in his words, ISIS got started through funding from our friends and allies. But of course, most Americans don't know anything about our clandestine support for the most radical jihadist elements in Syria. Similarly, most Americans don't know that it was the mad meddling of State Department bureaucrats and $5 billion of our tax dollars spent on destabilizing the government in Ukraine that led to last year's coup and triggered the subsequent new Cold War and 5,400 deaths. It's too bad, isn't it, that no one in Washington, nobody in public life warned us about this reckless policy of global meddling and perpetual war. But of course, someone did warn us. Ron Paul did, over and over again.
I think it's been known for quite a few decades that our foreign policy has what the CIA calls blowback. It has unintended consequences. You can go back to 1953 when we put the Shah into power, or us supporting Osama bin Laden and radicalizing the Islamics to go after the Soviets, and that comes back as blowback. Our support for Saddam Hussein in the 1980s. And this comes back to haunt us, and that's why I have been very attractive and very supportive of what I call a non-interventionist foreign policy. Mind our own business and stay out of the internal affairs of other nations.
We are living in a very dangerous time, and it's made more dangerous by these self-important people, these mighty wizards of Washington. They seem incapable of forethought. They are clueless about the concept of unintended consequences. They have no use at all for the Constitution. No wonder nothing has gotten better and everything in the region has gotten worse in the 12 years since we invaded Iraq. It's no surprise. We sow the wind, we reap the whirlwind. We need to awaken as many people as possible right now, before the global interventionists and the warmongers let another genie out of the bottle, something bigger and far more dangerous than what we've seen so far. Frankly, they need to be stopped now. It's because Ron Paul has been so successful in awakening people to the madness of global interventionism, the default meddling policies of both Washington parties, that I'm asking for your help in documenting his heroic struggle with the empire of lies. I'm pleased that Ron is supporting this important project at this crucial time.
I feel flattered that you even think that it's important that I be, an important part of it, because I think some big things are happening. And I think libertarianism and freedom, as bad as things look on the surface, I believe the rumblings are just wonderful there. And my relationship with young people, I think, is an indication that this whole system, monetary-wise, and even our foreign policy, world foreign policy, is going to fall apart.
Ron is on board. We have his support, but we can't do this without you. We need your support too. With your help, we'll tell the story of Ron Paul's battle against the empire of lies, now, before something far worse is visited upon us. Click the button on your screen. It'll take you to our Kickstarter page that will tell you about the rewards that we'd like to share with you as a token of our thanks. Click the button now and join this part of the Ron Paul revolution. And by the way, thank you for sharing this message with your friends and family too.